Morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 9:30 a.m. Can I have the adoption of the agenda, please?
The West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented.
Mover, Michelle, Teres. All in favour? Carried. A moment of silence in tribute for Mayor MacPhail. Please join us in a moment of silence with a video tribute in the honour of the passing of Mayor Duncan MacPhail on March 11th, 2023. Thank you. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll go to delegations. Welcome Dave Jenkins, Chair of the Elgin Group Police Services Board, and Inspector Lucas of the Elgin OPP for their annual presentation. Could you please go on?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having us this morning. I would like just to touch on our annual report. It's a report mostly that we share internally and externally, just as a highlight and an overview of what's transpired within Elgin County through the over the last year. I'd like to start with a message just as we're going through the report with our Police Services Board composition. So there has been some changes to our board. And normally we would have a message from our Police Services Board Chair, but we didn't have one in time when the annual report was prepared. My message to the staff and to the group is simply just a summation of what's transpired throughout the year. We are still focused in 2022. We were focused on completing our priorities identified in our 2020 to 2022 action plan. There will be a new action plan coming out this year once the commissioners released it, and ours will mirror that with local priorities included into that as well. 2022 was an interesting year. We just completed with the amalgamation with the Chatham-Kent OPP as well, and I can touch on that as we move through the presentation. If you look at the organization, our composition has changed. We still have the Police Services Board for civilian governance. I still remain the detachment commander, and I now have 2 staff sergeants or operations managers, one that remains in St. Thomas and one that sits in Chatham. Additionally, now we have 8 patrol sergeants, 54 constables. We have a few emergency response team positions that are vacant right now, and we're waiting to see how that's going to change once our service delivery model has been released, to see if we're going to get additional members there or not. We have 3 members in our traffic management unit. We still maintain a robust crime unit with 2 detective sergeants, 5 detective constables, a community street crimes unit, a regional operational analyst. Our auxiliary unit, which is actually, unfortunately, is much smaller than what the number indicates there. COVID really had a negative impact on our auxiliary program, and we're working on rebuilding that right now. We've enhanced our civilian administrative staff with the addition of 2 more detachment administration clerks. Constable Brett Fair, which you'll see later in the presentation, is now our community services officer and our media relations officer. And we still maintain court services and prisoner transportation and our community mobilization and engagement unit. Moving towards the auxiliary unit, year in review. Again, like I mentioned, we do have a capacity for 14 members. Unfortunately, that unit's been essentially decimated since COVID, and we are actively trying to recruit members and to get members back into the auxiliary program. Additionally, benefit for us is some of the members that were in the auxiliary program have ended up being hired by the OPP as full-time members. So you see the picture of Constable Alexandria Cullen. We're just recognizing her. She was one of the members with the auxiliary unit that was hired by the OPP on a full-time basis and is actually at the Elgin detachment, but reports out of the Chatham location. And she was awarded the Kirsten Award for outstanding contributions to the auxiliary program during her time in that program. Looking at our business planning, our action plan priorities were identified and with community and police services board consultation, and they will remain focused on crime, traffic, and other. When I say other, it's basically we're trying to generate efficiencies and lower costs, operating costs within the detachment. The creation of our collision reporting center has been beneficial to keeping our officers on the front line and giving people a known location where to report minor accidents by coming to the detachment. Our mental crisis response team, or MSAR worker, has been a fantastic addition to our police service with the ability to expedite instances where we're dealing with mental health patients or mental health concerns, and helping us to work with St. Thomas Elgin General Hospital with the transfer of care protocol, ideally with the intention of getting our officers returned to the front line as soon as possible, and having a trained person there to help us with the assessment of the person that's in crisis. Our crime management plan is overseen by Detective Sergeant Victoria Laux and 5 detectives that are assigned to that unit. It is a very busy unit. And as we move through the report, I'll highlight some of the excellent work that's been done by our crime unit. Our community street crimes unit is a shared collaboration between Elgin and Middlesex detachments, and is basically responsible for property crimes and drug investigations. And we do have a domestic violence coordinator position. It was vacated in 2022, and we're working through a process right now to identify and select a suitable candidate to take that over. If we move down towards our traffic management strategy, so we do maintain all officers are expected to be proactive and be conducting enforcement when they're out on patrol. However, we also have a dedicated unit of 3 members that are their whole focus is to attend areas that we've identified through community consultation, where we develop focused patrol strategies in response to community concerns and community needs. And they're responsible for really targeting those areas and providing proactive enforcement and reporting. Our community policing committees, unfortunately, that we had a very robust, well-established network of community policing partnerships prior to COVID. Since COVID, we've really suffered in that area with the demise of some of these programs, and we're really working to rebuild these programs and really get get the community involved again in policing and really having a strong local voice within their communities. That's something that will be a priority for the detachment commander and our police services board. We do abide by the mobilization engagement model for community policing, and we are committed to the 4 pillars of the engagement model. And if we move through it, it's basically everything that we do towards frontline policing is geared towards this model. Our priorities within the community mobilization, our top priorities, the Elgin Community Drug and Alcohol Strategy Development, Elgin Elder Abuse, Mental Health and Crisis Response Team, Police and Hospital Transition Framework, Senior Frauds and Scams, and a Rapid Response Working Group for the Alzheimer's Society. So this strategy was adopted back in 2018, where a situation table identified a need for a comprehensive drug and alcohol strategy within our community. A dedicated working group was formed at that time with the primary focus of identifying a collaborative plan. And the 4 pillars that you see before you were identified as basically our path forward to complete that, with prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and then collaboration with the justice and community safety. Below, you'll see a picture of Constable Brett Fair. He's taken over for Constable Norm Kelso in our media role. And he was identified as our community safety officer, and he's done a fantastic job of really trying to engage in the community. I hope you're receiving all those media updates and blast outs via email just to keep you up to date with what's going on in all of our local communities. As we move down to special projects, ATV patrols and marine patrols have been a focus for us. We've now acquired 2 ATVs within Elgin County, which predominantly in the past, we've had to try to borrow them and get them from wherever we could get them. Now with our ATV patrol, it's really been in response to specific community concerns regarding the lack of police visibility on our trail system. We have a very lengthy trail system within Elgin County, and the only other concerns I've heard now are people are worried if they're going to get a ticket by us when they see us out there. And for the most part, it's proactive visibility and the ability to engage with the community, unless there's an egregious offense. For the most part, just to be out and about and patrolling and providing a sense of safety on our trails. Our marine program now, with the addition of the Chatham-Kent amalgamation, we do have now a 2nd vessel, and we are responsible for patrolling not only Mitchell's Bay and areas and bodies of water near Chatham-Kent, but we have the ability now during missing boater occurrences or serious occurrences to have both boats in the water in Lake Erie as needed to help with visibility and enforcement. Below, you'll see some of the highlights with regard to patrol hours, and it is a very vast area that we cover. I touched earlier about the Community Street Crimes Unit, and this year they've investigated over 146 occurrences with the execution of 133 judicial warrants. 104 people were charged, and there were a total of 675 charges that were laid. Some of the highlights from this year, this first offense, really we had some, lack of a better term, a lot of property crime within Elgin County. And there seemed to be a group of individuals that were responsible for completing these crimes. Again, we abide by the concept of intelligence-led policing. So by engaging our regional analysts and using some sophisticated software, we're able to identify hotspots and trends where we have seen the greatest number of offenses, and we can predict potentially where there's going to be other offenses. And by deploying resources and surveillance and personnel to those areas, we've made some very significant arrests. This particular case, we recovered 2022 GMC Sierra Denali pickup, Polaris side-by-side, hand tools, stolen license plates, and so most significantly was the 12-gauge shotgun. Some of the other charges you see here are some of the drug investigations that have taken place, and unfortunately we are seeing a rise in opioid use, opioid overdoses. Cocaine is making a resurgence, And it seems to go hand in hand with recovering firearms from these occurrences as well. Most notably, I think everyone has been aware, we've had in the media was reported quite a bit with all the break-ins to the car dealerships and auto thefts within the area, not just within Elgin County, but within Middlesex as well. Very fortunately, our members on August 30th were able to basically, through a stolen vehicle investigation, we're able to make some arrests and start piecing together this network and taking down the network of criminals. As we move through our detachment of statistics there, you'll see that year over year, we have been receiving a increasing trend in the number of calls for service. 2020 was the anomaly just because everybody was home. But since then, the calls have been steadily rising. If we break it down per zone, you'll see that Central Elgin still remains the highest call volume for us. And then as we move down, you'll see that West Elgin is trending closer towards the lower end of calls for service. I touched on our traffic safety and traffic management unit. With that, we do apply for ride grant funding from the province every year to help support and offset the cost for conducting the ride checks for Festive Ride. Our traffic management unit is engaged in that as well. In fact, Elgin County led the region in terms of the number of ride checks completed this year. And we had over 690 static checks, and we raised or were awarded almost $15,000 for the ride grant. That's a great opportunity at that point for our members to engage with and work on the interoperability between our other policing partners, such as the St. Thomas Police, London Police, and the Aylmer Police Service. As we move through the motor vehicle collisions, these are some of the reports that I report on through our quarterly reports to the Police Services Board. Our fatal motor vehicle collisions have dropped. We had a 50% decrease in that. Personal injury accidents are up, as well as property damage accidents are up. And we attribute a lot of that to most people being out on the road, a lot of people being out and traveling. And unfortunately, within Elgin County, we do have a significant problem with animal wildlife. And that accounts for a lot of the property damage crashes that you see there. And if you look at our detachment parking lot, you'll see that it's actually, we're not immune to that either. We break it down per month. Predominantly, as we get closer to the winter season, from October to November to December is kind of where we start to see our accidents trending up. And again, predominantly we attribute that to the weather. If we look at our crime prevention statistics there, again, I did touch on that we abide by the intelligence-led policing framework, where we utilize analytics. We engage our regional operational analysts and our investigators to really create a fulsome picture of what type of crime trends that we have in our area and what the best response is to deal with that. We had one murder in 2021, which was solved in 2022. And the serious offenses such as sexual assaults, I'm very happy to report that most of those are trending down if you look by the statistics here. Conversely, though, you'll see that property crime is trending up. And if you look at the clearance rates, some of them are very difficult to investigate. A lot of the property crime is occurring in rural areas where there's no witnesses. There's not surveillance equipment or anything that will allow us a lot of opportunity for follow-up. And it's basically a matter of engaging our scenes of crime officers to try to gather intelligence and evidence for follow-up. Drug crime, there hasn't been really any change. It stayed very static throughout 2021 and 2022. There's been a merger this last year within the St. Thomas and Elgin Crime Stoppers unit. So I expect much more statistics to follow in the coming months to report on that. In terms of our financial reports, our billing model has stayed the same and hasn't changed over the last few years. And in terms of how that is calculated, we do our best within detachment to reduce costs and calls for service. And the way we do that and affect the billing model in a positive way is by creating efficiencies that will reduce the calls for service. So by creating focus patrols and different strategies and applying resources as needed, we're able to reduce the calls for service. The addition of the 911 process for the comm center has really helped to reduce calls for service, because the majority of those calls are able to be vetted through the comm center, as opposed to having to send an officer to each one of those calls, which becomes a billable call for service.
Mhm.
If you look at our calls for service by the hour of day, you'll see that predominantly between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. is kind of our peak period for calls for service. We were already ahead of the Auditor General's report within Elgin County when they looked at how our staffing is, basically how our officers are deployed. We have a noon to midnight shift. We had a 2 to 2 shift. And we had a 4 to 4 shift, as opposed to just simply having a 6 to 6 and everyone works 6 to 6 days or nights. We do try to abide by making sure that we have officers available, and the most officers available at peak times for calls for service, which has helped to reduce overtime. Our criminal records checks have moved to an online application process in June, so they're no longer being done at detachment. And again, here's just a photo, just showcasing some of the work that was done during the festive ride and with our ride grant. And some of these are just local pictures that we attend in the community, just to remain a real part and a high level of engagement within our community. And subject to any questions, that's our annual report.
Any questions, Bill?
Through the chair, thank you very much for your report. You mentioned that an amalgamation has taken place between Elgin and Chatham-Kent, and you have spoken about efficiency. So I guess my question would be, with this amalgamation, will there be additional efficiencies with the two detachments coming together? And if so, will there be the potential of that trickling down to the municipalities?
Thank you for your question. So how that will work, Elgin or Chatham was primarily a traffic detachment prior to the amalgamation, which means their responsibilities were, aside from marine duties, were provincial duties on the 401. Those are non-billable types of events because it's a provincial responsibility that the OPP maintains. The benefit to us overall within Elgin County is those officers now are additional and available for deployment within Elgin County as needed, either for proactive enforcement or for calls for service. So how that will translate into the billing model, those are conversations that will have to take place further with the municipal policing board to see if that's going to affect or impact our billing model. Either way, based on our service delivery model and the population growth within Elgin County, we were expecting to receive additional officers, and even with the amalgamation, we may see additional officers coming still, just because of the rapid growth within the community. So the benefit to us is not only do we gather all the resources that were available for Chatham-Kent, all of those resources are deployable anywhere within Elgin County, and we basically made the 401 as just another zone within Elgin County. So it's a zone 4, where we previously had 3 zones, we now have zone 4. And what we've done is really any recruits that were supposed to be coming to Chatham-Kent detachment, we brought to the St. Thomas site. We trained them in general duties operations so they know what's going on, and they have a very thorough knowledge and understanding of Elgin County in the area. And when they go to Chatham, they have the ability to come and work basically in our zone 1, which would be West Elgin, Dutton, Dunwich. And that way we have enhanced patrolling visibility here, and allows resources to shift towards the central and east part of our county as well. Okay.
Any further questions for the inspector? Professor, please.
Through the chair, thank you again for coming today. Really appreciate when you come with your annual report. You're talking about recruits. How many are you hoping to have new recruits come in?
So over the past year, and again, it's been within I think we've received close to 17 new recruits. Now that's not just that's also to take into account, we've had retirements, we've had some transfers out, we've had lateral transfers in, plus recruits. So I think in the number close to 17 that we've received, and we may be receiving some more. So I see our complement going up. It was based on, I don't know what the exact numbers are going to be yet. It's based on the final results, what the final decision is with regard to the service delivery model. And really there was a period of transition there where we actually thought Chatham was going to reduce and lose numbers just because of what had transpired there. But the amalgamation has really breathed some life into the detachment, provided stable, secure leadership, and allowed really that detachment to grow. And our chief is committed by sending additional officers and really to boost up the platoon strength and the numbers there. So I can't tell you how much more we anticipate to keep growing, but I do see future growth and more officers coming to the region.
Okay, I just have one, and it's about the community policing, but we did follow it up a little bit. And I did start to recruit some people that were interested still, and a couple of new ones. I did talk to the Aldeburgh Public School about maybe having 2 students coming and sitting on that board, and then maybe creating their own eventually at their school, a mini community policing, and then coming and joining us and saying what they're, what's going on. And we were hoping to do the same at the high school. So I'm hoping you're going to give us your support, and maybe when I go to see the principals, that an officer or somebody will come with me, and and then it's absolutely 100% genuine, and realize that we're trying to do something worthwhile.
100%, we'd fully support that. And if there's meetings that take place at the school, either I'd like to attend or have the CSO attend, just so that they recognize the importance that we really do want to get back into the schooling environment. I know there's been some political reasons why police have been maybe distanced a bit from the schools, but anytime we've been asked, and there's been other areas down in Port Royal where they've asked for the OPP, we've been there to make sure that they see that we're truly committed and want to invest, especially with our youth. So any opportunity there is for that, we'd be happy to attend.
Thank you very much. So important.
Very important.
And with that, Mr. Jenkins, would you like to start your presentation, please?
Thank you.
We certainly hear from sorry. Sorry about that. Do you want me to start again or just keep going?
You can start again, because you name people's names.
Sorry about that. Certainly, I'm Dave Jenkins. I'm the chair of the Elgin Group Police Services Board. I was elected chair on the 30th of January of this year, and would like to take a few moments and basically introduce the police services, Elgin Group Police Services Board members. West Elgin has reappointed Ida McCollum, and Ida has served for a number of years on the board. She represents not only West Elgin, but Dutton, Dunwich, and Southold. She has served in the past as vice chair of the board, and she's played a role as well, I believe, in promoting the policing of RV trails in West Elgin as well. Central Elgin and Bayham and Malahide all have in their designation for a member of the Police Services Board appointee must be a member of council. So Central Elgin's new member on the Police Services Board is their mayor, Andrew Sloan, and this is Andrew's first time on the board. Bayham Malahide's representative this year, this time, is Mayor Dominique Giguère of Malahide, and Bayham and Malahide alternate their representative. And as I said, their representative also has to be a council member. Our vice chair is Trudy Canellis, who is a provincial appointee and serves as our vice chair of the board. Trudy is also active on the Southold Community Policing Committee. And myself, Dave Jenkins, I'm also a provincial appointee and as chair of the board. And we've been active raising concerns about the bail situation and bail. Yeah, the national bail situation as well. One of the things that we have done, one of our first actions this year as chair of the Police Services Board, we did stand for a moment of silence in memory of Sergeant Greg Percola, who was shot, killed in Haldeman County at Hagersville. And along with that, we've also, as I say, raised the issue of bail, taking a look at our bail laws and that, and reform. And I'm deeply concerned about the state of Canada's, as we call it, catch and release bail system, which has led to a public safety crisis. We recently joined nationwide demand for changes to the Canadian Criminal Code and other federal legislation related to the bail system. This call for reform comes in response to the tragic shooting of Constable Greg Percola. Sadly, the individual who is alleged to have shot him was out on bail for firearm offenses with a lifetime ban on owning firearms. And a warrant was also out for their arrest. We've seen numerous repeat offenders in our area, some with having up to 12 separate interactions with police and the judicial system. These offenders have committed significant criminal offenses, including robbery, assault, break and enter, sexual assault, domestic violence related offenses. Moreover, many of these individuals have demonstrated previous violence, and monitoring them out on bail with conditions can be a drain on our police resources. Earlier this year, we reissued a press release to help raise awareness in the community on this important issue. We believe that the legislative reform needed to address the bail process with respect to violent repeat offenders and firearm charges is needed, and we are committed to working with our justice system to ensure that we have a safe community for all. If you have any questions about bail reform or any other Police Services Board matters, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm going to hand things over to Carolyn at this time, who will be sharing an update on Community Safety and Policing Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perfect. So in March 2019, Ontario passed the Comprehensive Ontario Police Services Act and established the Community Safety and Policing Act, which once in force will repeal the current Police Services Act. And the CSPA seeks to provide municipalities receiving OPP municipal policing with greater civilian governance, and by having the opportunity for the municipalities to present their local perspectives, needs, and priorities. So under the CSPA, Section 10 OPP agreements will be terminated and Section 10 OPP boards will be dissolved. So Section 10 municipalities were required to submit a proposal indicating their preferred composition for the new detachment boards. And on behalf of all the participating municipalities, the Secretary Treasurer submitted this application for a status quo board in June of 2021. So the chair just went over the composition. It's on your screen as well. So we submitted that application in June of 2021. We are still waiting to hear back from them. Some municipalities have started to hear back, so we anticipate hearing soon. From them soon. So once the new board composition is confirmed by the ministry and the CSPA comes into force, the old board will dissolve and a new OPP detachment board will be established. So the process will be involve the passing of bylaws and by the participating municipalities and the appointment of new members. So once the board is formed, and we can go on to the next slide. Perfect. So there'll be the ministry approval, the passing or the enactment of the CSPA. And then once the new board is formed, board members' compensation will be reconsidered. And this is something that we discussed previously. We'll take a look at what board members are paid as part of the budgeting process. So we will keep you updated on that when we hear from the ministry about the board composition and also when the CSPA is enacted, which may happen later this year, but we'll wait for an update from the ministry on that. And I do also have some bittersweet news to share today. Inspector Mark Lucas has accepted a position with the West Region Command. So we're very excited and thrilled for him for this new opportunity, but we are sad to see him go as well. We've had such a great working relationship with Inspector Mark Lucas, and he's been such a great community member and partner in policing in Elgin County. So we're sad to see him go, but we are happy and thrilled for this new position for you. And we'll be working closely with the OPP on plans for what comes next. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And congratulations. And it's our sad loss, really. But any questions from council on that one? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation. And yeah, I'm going to call for a 5-minute break. Thank you. Okay, we're away again. Our next delegation is Eleanor Snyder. One Investment presentation on investing. Welcome, Eleanor.
Good morning.
Could we have, welcome to West Elgin. Could we have our presentation, please?
I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, you.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Council, for having us here today. We're happy to be here. I'm going to introduce, sorry, there's some feedback here. I'm going to introduce Keith Taylor. Can you turn off your, sorry, we just need to make some adjustments on our end. Turn off your volume or your mute yourself, please.
Oh, yeah, you need to mute yourself.
My apologies. I'm going to introduce Keith Taylor, Chief Investment Officer. Sorry about that. We're all good now. Keith Taylor, he's the Chief Investment Officer for One Investment. I'm Eleanor Schneider, Program Manager, LAS and One Investment. And we will talk to you today about investing with One Investment, who we are, and give you some idea in terms of the products and services that we offer. One Investment is a non-for-profit organization. We have been serving the municipal sector for 30 years. Really proud to be doing that. We were formed originally between two organizations, Local Authority Services, so LAS, AMO's business services arm, and CHUMS, which is a subsidiary of the Municipal Finance Officers Association of Ontario. In December 2022, our net assets under management were just under 3 billion. That includes our product offerings under our two business lines, Prudent Investor and Legal List. Oversight that we provide for our investments are provided. We have municipal representatives and investment industry experts, and I'm specifically speaking to Legal List. So we have a peer advisory committee and an investment advisory committee that helps give us guidance and perspective in terms of needs on the investment side as well as the municipal side. We have 195 Ontario municipalities and boards that invest with One Investment. I'm going to give you some breakdowns as well. I'll give you a little bit of information in terms of the role of who we are. We've developed investment mandates that are in line with the Municipal Act. It's very important for us that we offer these types of products. We understand the importance of it. So when it comes to the solutions that we offer or the products that we offer, we ensure compliance is key and ensuring that the Municipal Act is followed. So that's how all of our portfolios and our investment offerings have been designed. As mentioned, in terms of governance, we have our peer advisory committee, as well as an investment advisory committee, as well as legal counsel that help guide us and provide us information in terms of what we need to make sure that we're running a proper framework. Reporting, another very important aspect in terms of what we provide. We provide municipalities and our investors information with monthly, quarterly reports that help you make those investment decisions and help you understand what your returns look like. This slide basically outlines the two aspects of the Municipal Act regulation in relation to investments. So we've got two product lines, Legal List and Prudent Investor. The Prudent Investor offering, we introduced that in 2020. We launched that and made that option available to all municipalities. So we are the only only offering in Ontario that has a joint investment board. So we had 6 founding municipalities that actually came together and helped us launch this joint investment board. So we've got oversight for municipalities who are interested in, broader investments and the potential for higher returns. Just to give you a little bit of background in terms of, what makes up that 195 in terms of population size. And I've basically highlighted where the municipality of West Elgin would fall into. But we've got 195 participants, but the majority of them basically are under the 50,000 population range. So we serve primarily small and medium-sized municipalities, but we cater to all. This is just a highlight in terms of the one investment portfolio options under the legal list. I'll let Keith talk about it in further detail, but really we have all types of products and portfolio options depending on the term that you're looking at to invest. Just to note that there are a couple of things that Canadian equities and our corporate bond are available to municipalities, and municipalities can only invest through one investment under the regulation. The other thing I'd like to highlight is our investment advisory services team. So what this means is in 2020, when we launched the Prudent Investor offering, let me step back. In 2019, we received an exemption from the Ontario Securities Commission, which allows us to provide investment advice to municipalities. That was exemption was provided in order for us to launch the Prudent Investor offering, which happened in May 2020. We have a CFA charter holder on staff, which is Keith Taylor, who provides advice to municipalities and gives them options in terms of legal list, and it also assists municipalities under Prudent Investor. We also have a municipal finance expert, which can also help with policy development and cash flow matching. So we really have a full gamut of staff that can help municipalities and municipal treasurers link those your capital plans, your asset management plans, your long-term finance plans into an investment strategy. And I am going to now pass it over to Keith, and who will talk about the investment managers.
Mute.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're having problems with Nicholas.
Keith, we're going to need you to unmute.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, we're battling with the echo. Apologies. Yes, I'm the Chief Investment Officer at One Investment. I have over 25 years experience in the investment industry. My job is to help investors under the legal list, providing investment advice. And I also help advise our joint investment board for investment related matters. Firstly, I wanted to quickly touch on the products we have under our legal list. The first one is our Canadian equity portfolio. This is the only way that municipalities under the legal list can get exposure to equities. I personally think it's very appropriate for virtually every municipality out there. It's a tool to offer some level of growth in your investments over time, which if you're putting money away for whatever capital projects in the future, you want to have that money grow so it can offset the costs and cover inflation. This particular mandate invests only in Canadian equities. It has a bias. The manager has tried to dial down the risk in the portfolio by reducing exposure to the commodity related sectors, the energy sector and the mining sector. It was launched in 2008, so it's got a significant period of history. And we currently have approximately $1 billion in assets invested in this portfolio from a wide range of Ontario municipalities. The next set, if you can go back 2 slides, sorry. There we go. We also have some fixed income portfolios. We have 2 of them. The first one is our government bond portfolio, which invests in shorter duration bonds. It does have some exposure to Canadian bank bonds. It's very high credit quality. It's designed to be compliant with the legalist restrictions. And as I say, the main factor is that it has a very short duration or maturity of bonds, which means it's less sensitive to changes in interest rates. The other bond portfolio we have is our corporate bond portfolio. It has more exposure to corporate bonds, obviously. About 70% of the portfolio is currently invested in corporate bonds. It gives exposure where municipalities can't get it on their own under the Municipal Act. You're not allowed to invest in corporate bonds with maturity of greater than 5 years. This portfolio has some exposure to that. So it's a way to give a slightly different exposure than you can get on your own. The average maturity of the overall portfolio currently is about 5 years. And again, it's very high credit quality. Again, it's constrained by the limitations of the Municipal Act. So we can't invest in bonds, for example, that are BBB credit quality. You can skip 2 slides. Now I want to share 2 nuggets of investment advice while I'm here, and then we'll sort of close this off. I know there are constraints on time. The first nugget of advice is that you probably should have some equity in your portfolio. But how much equity you have in your portfolio should be informed by your investment horizon. As we've seen over the last couple of years, the equity markets can be very misbehaved. They may give you better returns over the long term, but in any one year, the volatility is such that you could easily experience negative losses over the short term. And this is what this table talks about. What we've done is we've taken a look at historical returns of the TSX from 1956 to 2019. And it's a scenario. If you were like totally unlucky and bought the TSX or bought equities at the worst time, what would your return have been? So if you're the unluckiest man on the planet, what would it be? And we're talking, and the columns are based on your holding period. So if you bought at the worst time over that horizon and held for 1 year, you could have actually experienced a loss of negative 39%. And obviously that's very scary. But if your investment horizon was longer, you're likely to get a return that's closer to the average, long-term average. And if you extend that period out to somewhere between 5 and 7 years, even if you were hopelessly unlucky or even trying to lose money, it's very difficult to do so because the average return on equities is such that if you've given the time, you will grow out of any deficit from where you started. And that frames the discussion. You should only invest in equities if you have a long investment horizon. And for those reserves that you need the funds within the next 1 to 5 years, you probably shouldn't be investing in equity. It's too much risk. You have some reasonable probability of ending up in a deficit. Over the long term, you should expect that fixed income returns will give you a return that equates to inflation or a little bit more. Pulling a number out of thin air, maybe that's 2 to 4%. And equities, because you're owning in the growth, typically you should expect something in the range of, 6 to 9% would be, again, a number right out of thin air, but it gives you some context. You're going to get a lot more growth if you have equities in your portfolio. And if you're putting money aside for capital project, inflation is an issue and you need that growth. But again, it's just a context. If the investment horizon is long enough, you should have more equities. And that's part of how we can would help advise building an investment allocation, understanding your circumstances when you need the money, so you're not in a position where you're putting all your chips down and you don't have the time to recover if the markets move against you. Next slide, please. The next little nugget, and this is a little bit more succinct. Diversification is a good thing. Historically, what we've seen is that equities are seen as a more risky investment. Oh, that's much better. Equities are a risky investment, and they, every 7 to 10 years, they kind of misbehave as they have in recent past. They are risky, and when investors get spooked and want to take risk off the table, they reallocate to something that has less risk. And people will shed risk selling equities and deploy it into bonds, particularly government bonds, which have less risk. And that means in times of crisis, the typical scenario is that equities go down and bonds go up. If you have both in your portfolio, the losses on the equities can be offset by some of the gains on the fixed income. And it's, in layman's terms, it's actually a little bit better than just putting your eggs in different baskets. In this case, the deficit one can help compensate the other. So there's every reason to have diversification by asset classes within your portfolio. And we think it's a bit of a no-brainer. And when we're helping building a portfolio or advising about building a portfolio, this is one, it's like a free lunch. Why wouldn't you consider this? So yeah, next slide, please. I'll be very brief on this. We formed a joint investment board in 2020 with 6 founding municipalities. If a municipality opts to move into the prudent investor regime, either independently or with a joint investment board, it opens the door to a much wider universe of investments. It comes back to the diversification ideas. If you have more baskets to distribute your eggs in, you're reducing your risk. Which is the way we typically would frame it. And this little circle here totally misrepresents the opportunity set for legal list. The size of that circle should be about 3% of the available global securities. And that circle is way too big. That is the point. The opportunity set in investing by investing under the legal list is extremely narrow. So if there is a desire to open up the opportunity set and get a better set of investment outcomes, more available choices, and potentially better diversification, it's something that should be thought about. And I'll make no pretense, we recommend it to most municipalities. It's a huge undertaking by the municipality to even consider it. We have a turnkey solution to help, and that's all I want to say on the topic. We don't have the time to go into detail, but we can as appropriate at a later date. We are, as you know, we are a turnkey solution. We have everything baked in. We try to make it easy for our municipalities. We provide the advice, we provide investment solutions. We provide all the services involved there, so the treasurer and it doesn't need to be as involved, and we have all the backup, whether it's the professional portfolio management, performance oversight. We guarantee compliance with the Municipal Act for the legal list investments, which I don't think you'll find anyone else is willing to do that for you in terms of vendors that might are offering services. And the next slide, probably this comes up. This is always a a point that councils tend to focus on. How much is it going to cost? And the way we do it with our funds, all those services and offerings we do on our side, those are costs assumed by One Investment. And then we have to pay for them and the sort. The fees that we charge are baked into our portfolios. So no one gets invoiced for the fees, but they end up being a cost that's borne by the funds themselves. And the charges, it's in basis points. That's 1% of 1%, one 10,000th of a share. So it's 50 basis points, more succinctly, is a half percent. And do note that because we're not for-profit organization, it's actually problematic if we make profits. So in December 2020, we had a growth in the Canadian equity portfolio that led to a situation where we were required to lower the fees to ensure that we retained our not-for-profit status. And it is a commitment to us as we scale up. There are economies of scale in this business. And as our assets grow, the hope is that we would be able to lower our fees beyond that. It's a commitment on our point, and it's actually baked right into our structure. We also have some high interest savings accounts that we coordinate with external vendors on, that sometimes can offer rates that might be better than you can get at your local bank, because we do have a large number of municipalities with collectively large balances involved. Sometimes we can draw the attentions of the bank involved a little bit better than a municipality might be able to negotiate on their own. With that, I apologize. We may have gone over our delegation time, but if there's any questions, Eleanor and myself, I would be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Any questions from council? Seeing none, I thank you very much. And
through the chair.
Magna, sorry.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
So this is having One Investment coming into council meeting. I would like to seek council's authorization to enter into agreement with One Investment and develop policies, bylaws, and an investment portfolio that will eventually help fund our long-term projects.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Sounds
Eleanor
great.
and Keith, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to go to 6, which is Committee of Adjustment.
So that council hereby recesses at 10:35 a.m. in order to proceed into Committee of Adjustment meeting under Section 45 of the Planning Act.
Mover, please. Tress and Michelle. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. So I'll call this meeting to order.
Sure. So I need a mover. So the resolution is that West Elgin County or Committee of Adjustment convenes at 10:36 a.m. to consider an application for minor variance for lands owned by Jeremy and Michelle Bejan at 22202 Douglas Line.
Moved. Mover, please. Michelle. Bill seconded. All in favour? Carried.
So the purpose of this public meeting of the West Elgin Committee of Adjustment is to allow the presentation of applications for minor variance and to allow interested members of the public an opportunity to ask questions or offer comments with regards to these applications. Written comments were to be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer of the committee. The planner is keeping a public registry, and if any member of the public would like to be notified in writing of the Committee of Adjustment's decision on a particular planning application, they are to provide their name and mailing address to planning@westelgin.net or by calling 519-785-0560 no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the hearing. Notice was sent via regular mail on March 8th, 2023 to property owners within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject property and to agencies requiring notice.
Disclosure of any pecuniary interest? Seeing none. It's a minor variance and report. Robert, could you please report?
Certainly. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The minor variance request that's before you today is essentially a side effect of lot creation on the property back in October. This was presented to council for information to pass along to Elgin County. Elgin County Land Division Committee has granted the severance application. The blue outlined parcel being the remnant parcel with the existing dwelling, and the new parcel being the red outlined parcel with an existing accessory building on it. Essentially, the variance is requesting a reduction in the lot frontage. As you can see, the lot's located in a bit of an unusual location on the curve of Douglas Line there, and reduces the amount of frontage that's available in terms of lot creation. Both the lots do continue to meet the minimum lot area requirements, but do require a reduction in the lot frontage. On the remnant parcel, the reduction is from 25 meter frontage requirement down to 23, and then on the severed parcel or the red outline parcel, it's a reduction from 25 meters down to 17 meters. Both of these frontages still continue to allow for adequate access to the lot, as well as being able to provide space for the provision of running services into the new lot from Douglas Line. The 4 tests have been applied to the minor variance, and each of them pass. There's no OP issues either at the county or the local level, and no issues of significance are raised by provincial policy. I will note to the committee just an error in the report under the financial implications. It notes that fees were not collected. Fees were collected for this application for minor variance for the reduction of the frontage. And unless there's questions from the public or members of the committee, that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
So if any members of the public wish to raise a concern or ask a question, please use the raise your hand function in Zoom and I will allow you to talk. I'll make 3 calls for that. So I'm making the first call for anyone who wishes to raise a concern or ask a question. I'm going to make a second call for anyone from the public who wishes to raise a concern or ask a question. And a third and final call for any members of the public who wish to make comments or questions on this minor variance. It appears there is none, sir.
Written comments received?
The Secretary Treasurer did not receive any written comments from staff or public agencies to add. The planner may have had some and they would be incorporated into his report.
Okay, thank you. Any committee comments? Seeing none. So now a decision.
So the decision would be that West Elgin Committee of Adjustment grant minor variance D13 1-2023 to obtain relief from section 12.1, table 12.1, item 2A to 1, reduce the required lot frontage on the severed parcel from 25 meters to 17 meters, and to reduce the required lot frontage on the retained parcel from 25 meters to 23 meters.
Bill, seconded by Michelle. All in favor? Carried.
So we're now at the adjournment then?
Yeah, we're at the adjournment stage.
That West Elgin Committee of Adjustment hereby closes this public meeting held pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act at 10:42 a.m. and reconvenes in the regular meeting of council.
Mover, please, Michelle. Yes. All in favor, carried. Oh, so do we have to go back into the public meeting or just carry
We
on?
did, we carry on.
Okay. Okay, adoption of the minutes.
So that the minutes of the council meeting on March 9th, 2023 be adopted and as circulated and printed.
Bill for remover, Michelle for a second, all in favor, carried. Business arising from the minutes. Seeing none. The consent agenda. Does anybody want any items removed from the consent agenda to discuss?
Through the chair, 9.1.1, if we could remove that one, that would be great.
Okay. Apart from that, we go on.
Okay, so then that the consent agenda for March 23rd, 2023 be received and filed minus section 9 or item 9.1.1.
Okay, mover, Michelle. Seconder. Bill, all in favor, carried. So that takes us right down to staff reports. So we're on staff reports, operations and community services. Lee, manager of operations and community services. 2023 dust suppressant tender.
Thank you, through the chair. Good morning. I think there's really not a lot here, just obviously we need to move forward with this as spring's going to be here before you know it. And I will say that with the pricing, I know it's a significant increase over what we've been accustomed to in West Elgin. But we are still receiving even at 9 to 10 cents per liter for dust suppressant. We're still probably one of the lowest municipalities in the province as far as what we're paying for that, because it is a local product. So
Yeah.
it is an increase for us, but at the same time, we are still getting very fair pricing. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions on that, Bill?
Through the chair to Lee, is there any chance of discussions about locking in that price for future years?
We have there is a possibility we could look at going with a longer term contract. So there's some municipalities that are going out 3 years for that type of stuff, but it was fairly volatile over the last probably 4 years, 3 to 4 years now. So we've been doing 1 year increments just to help keep that. The Eastern Oilfield Services is a local company. They're out of Bothwell as their head office. And like I said, the product that they're supplying is local to West Elgin and Dutton Dunwich. So that, that can be a conversation maybe that can be had moving forward into next year. But like I said, this is still very, very competitive pricing compared to what our neighbors are paying around us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Could I have the recommendation, please?
The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Lee Gosnell, Manager of Operations and Community Services, and that West Elgin Council hereby grants pre-budget approval in the amount of $213,750 plus applicable taxes as submitted by Eastern Oilfield Services Limited for the supply and application of dust suppressant.
Okay,
Also move.
Dresser, Bill. Seconded, all in favor? Carried. Lee, you're on again for 2023 gravel tender.
Yep. So through the chair, just piggybacking off the last one, this is something that we'll want to, we need to move forward with. Is we'll want to start this in probably the next 6 to 8 weeks. So as you can see here, and this is not uncommon from previous tenders for gravel that we've put out, we typically only see 1 to 2 actual bids for this. And part of that reason, obviously Johnson Brothers is there again as a local company to West Elgin. And number 2, you know, there are other companies that would possibly bid on hauling the gravel, but the gravel purchase is still being, there's only a certain number of aggregate producers. And so that chances are somebody that's bidding on hauling that gravel is still going to be purchasing through a local company anyways, right? So like, as you can see here, there was 2 bids that were there's a fair spread in that.
Yes,
And
sir.
in my 10 years here at West Elgin, Johnson Brothers has had the gravel contract every year for the last 10 years, and they've done an exceptional job. So based on that, I would recommend that we move forward with this.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments by council? So I'll have a recommendation, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Lee Gosnell, Manager of Operations and Community Services, and that West Elgin Council hereby grants pre-budget approval in the amount of $323,700 plus applicable taxes to Johnson Brothers Limited for the supply and application of maintenance gravel.
Okay, mover, Michelle. Bill, seconded. All in favour? Carried. All right, Jan and Evercott, clerk, vacancy of the office of mayor.
So it's obviously with heavy hearts that we have to deal with this. But this is the background information that we have for what we need to do moving forward. Staff council do not have to make a decision at this meeting. Staff are prepared with a resolution and bylaw should you choose to declare it vacant. But I know this has been a hot topic in the community. So I think that's why I provided both reports at the request of the deputy mayor. So all of the information as per the Municipal Act and Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing Guidelines, legal guidelines that we've gotten are out there. Sadly, this is actually way more common than you'd believe. Through our research, there were 23 replacements last term in the 443 municipalities. One municipality alone did multiple, and there are 2 other municipalities in the exact same state we are at this moment.
Good, thank you. Is there any comments by council? Would you like to say anything at all? So I'll take a vote that we received it.
So you just receive it at this time? Do you want?
I'd like to declare it vacant.
I guess that's up to everybody else.
Make that motion.
To declare the office vacant. So basically what will happen at this point is the resolution would be that you will receive the report for information purposes and that a bylaw be brought forward in the bylaw portion of the agenda to declare the office of the mayor vacant.
I will go then, if that's all right.
Okay, so
So you, Bill? Bill, all in favour? Carried.
okay. So the next report is the information on what your options are. Again, you have from today, you have 60 days to either have someone appointed in that seat or pass the bylaw to start the election process. So again, it was worth you guys taking some time to think about it. Again, you do not have to make a decision right now. But I know the Deputy Mayor Latham wanted to make sure you had every opportunity to see what would happen and what the options are. And the different processes that we have. So there are under appointment, there are 4 subversions. And then under the by-election, we did get some early cost quoting on what it would be like to run it, the costs to run an election. So you can receive this just for information at this time and give you some time for thought or discussion before next council.
I personally think that may be the way to go. If everyone's in favour of that, it gives us just time to think about it. I don't know how other people feel, but please say so. Bill?
I agree. I don't think anything needs to be done today. Jana provided us with a great report with some timelines as to when we must do things. Things are still pretty fresh. It would be probably a benefit to all of us, including the community, just take a little bit of time to contemplate the best path forward. So I would support a motion of filing this information.
Anyone else got a comment? Trustee?
Yeah, it was just hard enough just now to just declare the seat vacant, I find, so it is very near to the surface still, so having some time, and thank you for laying out everything for us so clearly that we have the options and what we can do going forward and what it looks like. So I would second that motion.
Okay, so we'll go for a mover. Yeah, okay. All in favour and it passed. Okay.
So my third report is on meeting start time survey. I wanted to ensure we continued on with that and you were aware of the survey results. It actually may, I don't know, change or help with the options coming forward. Again, you do not have to change anything this council unless you want to. But I wanted to give you the outline of this, of what the survey results were. One of the other things I didn't get in there, but I did talk to a couple other municipalities who are studying this kind of at the same time with rural areas. One of them being Middlesex Center, which is a little larger than us, but similar population diversity, in which they have found that the hybrid option of one daytime meeting a month and one evening meeting a month actually gives everybody an opportunity, for those who work evenings and work days. So it's up, I mean, it's one of those things. Their clerk just got back to me after I'd already submitted the report on that it seemed to be a good mix for that. And they try to keep, they'll do drainage maybe during the day because there's more count if it's a mainly rural drain, but planning at night, say. So there's lots of options, but I wanted you guys to see the results of the community.
Like, again, I think we should just hang on a little bit and think about this before we really get down and discuss it. I wanted to ask what difference it would make with administration and everything else, having an evening meeting after you've done a day's work, or do you take time off in lieu?
Well, through the chair, usually employees that are participating in council meetings are senior management. Time in lieu, you know how we don't take time in lieu. There is just no time. We're busy. For all office staff is salary. The ones that would need to attend the meeting, they would be allowed to take time in lieu. So our senior management staff, to tell you the truth, it would be knowing my staff, having evening meetings, it is going to be a long day for all of us.
That's what I was.
Because we will be coming to work at the beginning of the day, and we will be ending the day at the end of the council meeting. So, I mean, but if this is what the public is inquiring, if this is what the council wants, we're willing to make it happen.
Any other comments, please, Bill?
Through the chair. So just a couple thoughts on that. First of all, in the survey, 88% of those who participated said that they appreciate and are able to watch council meetings online after the meeting is over, which suggests to me that the majority of people are able to participate in council meetings regardless of the time. Second point, we aren't quite sure what our council is going to look like for the next few weeks or maybe more. I would suggest deferring this discussion until we have established what our plan is for council.
Michelle? Yes, thanks.
Through the chair, I brought this up. Part of it was not only for engagement, but it was to increase those from our community who may show interest in running. So that when we have elections, we aren't having 4 seats that are acclaimed, that we are appealing to those who have to work during the day to be able to participate in the political process. So I agree, I think we should wait. I understand that it will add time to staff. I appreciate the idea of maybe doing one day, one evening, so that we are offsetting that. But for me, this was for engagement in the elections and getting more candidates to be able to participate in municipal government.
Good point.
So I would also ask, because Jan has done a ton of research, there have been a number of councils who have moved to evening meetings. I would be curious to see if they did see an increase of candidates running, if there is any effect on engagement in the political process by making meetings more accessible to more types of career people. A lot of people cannot take off, especially at budget time, almost a month and a half of a day a week, plus all the committee meetings. So we are making it very difficult for people to run.
Okay, good point. Thank you. Press, please.
Through the chair, and further to that point, I'm just gonna look at our neighbors, because we do sit in a lot of committees with our neighbors of Dutton Dunwich. And I'll just speak to last term, because that's what I can speak to right now, because we haven't really gotten into too many committee meetings yet. But when I was on committee meetings with councillors from Dutton Dunwich, a lot of the day meetings, some of them that couldn't attend because they are work full-time and they have their council meetings in the evening. So it'd be myself and the Dutton Dunwich representative wasn't available because of a daytime meeting and they were working their full-time job. So I'm sure they would have been very hardworking councillors that I was on committees with, but if you have something at 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning during a week, not all of them could attend. I'd say 80% of the time, one of the councillors was never there. Great input via email, great input when we volunteered or did something out in the community. But a 1 o'clock meeting in the middle of the day, that councillor was never there. Can't do it. So just speaking to that, I know so many times that I've had to move my own schedule around and other councillors because we're in the day. So I like the idea of thinking on it as well, and also then seeing what we are comprised of as a council, and then going with I'm leaning towards whenever that looks like, but doing a day and an evening, day and evening. I know it's a long day. All the other municipalities do an evening meeting, so their senior staff is, maybe if we can figure out something where they have a break or they come in at noon, or I know they won't, but maybe they'll be at home in their pajamas doing things at work as they're coming in at noon. I don't know. And coming in at noon, I meant to say. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But thank you for your report, Janet. It's a very thorough, very thorough.
Right, thank you very much. So at the moment, we're going to leave it and we're out for more information to come along.
Yep, so we'll return this with some more feedback when things are a little more settled, which I understand. I just thought it was a good idea that you saw it and that anyone considering what we're doing also knows it's an option too, for the same idea.
Okay, do we need to move it, say we received it?
No, you just staff direction provided to staff to return with the discussion at a future meeting.
Okay.
More information.
Thank you. Financial administration. Magna, CEO, Treasurer, Consolidated Linear Infrastructure, Environmental Compliance of Approval.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this report basically is seeking council's approval to work towards our application process for the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Basically, this started approximately a year ago. The ministry wanted to streamline application process for sewer and storm sewers. Until now, every time there is any kind of repair or addition to our infrastructure, long application process is required. And when I say long, there's a long wait time. There's a lot of paperwork associated with it. The Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Park want to streamline that process, but that process will be linked to our asset management. So really, to apply for the compliance approval, the cost of applications is only $100. But the work that municipalities have to do is way more expensive, as all the assets, all our infrastructure has to be listed. We have to prove that we have adequate replacement cost. Our life cycle assessment is accurate. The condition of the asset, age, and location of the asset is adequate. So Ontario Clean Water Agency approached me. They are willing to take on this task, but unfortunately there is cost associated with it. And they are, at this point, they are to submit the application and review of our sewer assets. The cost is $7,100. This application, we also need to submit application for storm sewers, but unfortunately we're not ready to do that yet, as we don't have a lot of information in regards to storm sewers. And once we have study done that is currently in our budget, we might be able to move with another application for storm sewers. But Aqua is willing to, once this application is approved by council, they're willing to start on this project right away. So we can submit this application in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you. Any questions by council? Seeing none, can we have a recommendation, please?
The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda Badura, CIO Treasurer, Reconsolidated Linear Infrastructure Environmental Compliance Approval, and that West Elgin Council approves the Ontario Clean Water Agency proposal to undertake the completion of a municipal sewage collection system application for the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks in the amount not to exceed $7,100 exclusive of HST.
Can I have a mover, please? Dresser. Michelle, seconded. All in favor? Carried. The next one is strategic plan, if you don't mind.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Another my next report is in regards to our strategic plan. As I mentioned during our first budget deliberations, we've never done strategic plan, but with the previous term of council, we did an organizational review back in 2020. With the recommendations of that organizational review, we were able pretty much to complete every single suggestion and recommendation that was listed in that organizational review. But now it's time to think about our long-term plans and objectives and council's vision. And Jennifer Kirkham is willing to help us to build that plan, to create a vision and mission statement at the beginning, and then move on with community input as well as council's plans. Of course, this kind of study and plan comes with the cost, and she is proposing $21,500 plus applicable taxes. this is not something that can be done in 2 or 3 meetings. This will probably be, if initiated within the next month, we might be able to see the final plan sometime in fall.
Question from me to the treasurer. What do you think of that?
So I am proposing option 1 as the only difference between option 1 and 2 is vision and mission statement. I think Jennifer, when she developed that plan, she was under assumption that we do have vision and mission statement, but we don't. This was never developed. There is absolutely no cost, no extra cost for that additional option. But I think option 1 would be the most recommended.
Any questions, Bill?
So through the chair, I've been through strategic plans multiple times. The cost is, it lines up to other experiences I've had. The only difference between option 1 and option 2 that I see as being important consideration is option 2 provides for more interaction with the community. So option 2 has that secondary ability for 3 online focus groups. So if we're doing a strategic plan for the future direction of the municipality, my feeling is that the more input that the community can provide, the more aligned that strategic plan is going to be with what the desires of the community are. So I'm supportive of the strategic plan. I understand the price. I'm not stuck on option 2, but that would be my preference.
Anyone else? Seeing none.
Through the chair, so could I? There's absolutely no price difference, and I would
No.
like that mission and vision statement included in option 2. If council would like to go with option 2, we can pretty much move, that item to option 2, perhaps.
Just add.
Just
one
add
item.
it, yes.
Does everyone seem okay with
Yeah.
that? Sounds good.
Okay.
Would you like the recommendation?
Yes, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda Badura, CIO Treasurer, regarding strategic plan and approve the proposal from Jennifer Kirkham of Mischievous Cat Productions in the amount of $21,500 plus applicable taxes. And that West Elgin Council chooses option 2 to include a mission vision statement as their choice.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Michelle? First, second, all in favour? Carried. Magni, you're very busy. It's 2023 compensation review.
Last report is another important review that we had in plans last year in the fall. Unfortunately, we were not able to complete as they were other urgent items that had to be completed. This compensation review will be scheduled for this year, but will be any results will be prepared and included in 2024 budget. Basically, this Pay Equity Act was passed back in 1987, and basically it was, the main focus was ensuring that employers' compensation practices provide pay equity for all employees in female job classes. So, and basically the idea was to redress systemic gender discrimination in compensation for work performed by employees in female job classes. In 2020, when we had organizational review, we have developed, over the last 4 years, we have developed new job descriptions, job classes, that pay was based on neighboring municipalities' pay, but we never had a chance to kind of go outside our own area to see if we are comparable with, with the province. So it is important that pay equity review is done periodically. Last pay equity review was done back in 2015. So now with all the changes that we have introduced, it's time to have it done and make the adjustments as required for 2024.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions by council on that one? Seeing none, can I have the recommendation, please?
The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Magda Baduro, CAO Treasurer, re 2023 compensation review. And further, that West Elgin Council accepts the proposal from ML Consulting to undertake a pay equity and compensation review at a cost of $25,200, excluding HST, plus travel and out-of-pocket expenses. And that West Elgin Council hereby gives pre-budget approval for this pay equity and compensation review.
Can I have a mover, please? Bill?
That motion.
Michelle, all in favour? Carried. Committee and board report. Councillors' reports from committees. Is there anything?
Through the chair, we had our arena
Yeah.
committee meeting yesterday, and of course, the focus was Hockeyville. So I know that there is a letter of request from the organizers, so I will just defer any report to follow up on that letter that we will get to.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Accounts, please.
So that the mayor or the deputy mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 3A amounting to $245,443.73 and settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts, including electronic fund transfer numbers 6448 to 6475, online payment numbers 1086 to 1128, check numbers 26144 to 26147, and payroll for pay period 5.
Any inquiries by council? Seeing none. Can I have a mover, please? Teresa? Michelle? All in favour? It's carried. Next one is consideration of items requiring discussion. Jace Moore. Craft Hockeyville request. Can you carry on, Bill?
Through the chair, certainly. So yesterday at the Rec Center Arena Committee meeting, we had a presentation from Ms. Small on behalf of West Lorne Minor Hockey with a request to help them get organized for the big weekend of Hockeyville. The request was for $2,000 to assist them with ad materials and signage, and the rec committee or the arena board decided to support them. So that was moved forward, and certainly there's a lot of great excitement about that. So there's a lot of great people that are working hard to put this all together. So I'll leave it at that, and I can also bring something up pertaining to that during matters of urgency through the chair.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Anything else?
So we'll need to discuss item number 9.1.1, which is the resolution on reducing municipal insurance costs from the municipality of Chatham-Kent that Councillor Tellier asked to be put there.
Yes, please.
So yeah, we were told it was 28% that the insurance went up for us, I believe. And other municipalities are struggling as well, as I can see in the news, and different reports we've had come our way. So I just wanted to bring that to the forefront and maybe answer that or address it or echo it if we could, about the cost of insurance. And really, it's technically a monopoly on insurance that the municipalities are facing. We can't do anything about it right now, but maybe strength in numbers or voice, maybe they'll at least listen or sit up and understand that that's not okay. We're just passing it on to our ratepayers, so.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a lot of options of different insurance companies, or are we governed pretty well?
There is, at this point, there's only 3 other insurance providers. There's not much choice, and I mentioned it before, but over the last 3 years, our insurance almost doubled. We will be trying to go out to the market this year, sometime in April, to see if the other 3 providers can provide us better rates. But the problem is it's the liability. It's every people are just naming municipality. Municipality is very is being the number of claims received by the insurance company from the municipalities, it's on a constant rise.
Yeah, they certainly think we got deep pockets, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Go on, Bill.
Through the chair. So what's our claim rate like in West Elgin? Are we what you would consider to be below the average?
We are way below.
Okay.
But the insurance, basically, overall insurance market dictates the increases. So
that I understand. So I just wonder if we are below the average, is it a consideration to reach out to insurance to inquire about increasing premiums in order, or reducing premiums for the deductible to increase? If our claims are below the average, is there a case for having that discussion?
we have increased deductibles. Whether we can certainly bring report to council, how, if we increase deductibles even further, if that's gonna make any difference on the bottom line. Also, this year for 2023, the cost of property jumped through the roof. So, our facilities insurance went up significantly as well. So there are, when it comes to vehicle and equipment insurance, that area went down as we had no claims. So it's just the market kind of dictates the rates most of the time.
Yeah. Joe?
Through the chair, just make it so that the community can understand the increase. What does that represent on our taxes?
So this year was roughly around $30,000, so close to 1%.
Right, so I agree with having those conversations again and municipalities joining together, because it does seem to be a bit of a racket that insurance is running right now.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Yeah, it puts us in a funny position, and it's hard to do something about it. We can just try our best. So we're going to move on to notice of motion. Michelle?
I'm just wondering, while we are looking at pay equity among staff, and with the recent loss of another employee and upcoming recent loss, I've been paying attention to other municipalities, and we are all facing the same problem. And it seems to me it is unfortunate for all municipalities, none of us can be offering more money. And so looking at places such as Simcoe that had a 47% turnover rate, and I would imagine ours is up there. They have gone internally to see what other ways and benefits they as an organization can be offering to staff to help encourage them to either come or stay and not be lured away by other municipalities.
Mhm.
Some of those things looks like 4-day work weeks, hybrid work. I am wondering if it is possible to look into what it would cost us if there is someone out there to assess our current environment, not pay in the municipality, so that we can start to address some of the hiring concerns that we have. When we talk about night meetings, we're talking about the fact that we have such a small staff right now and everyone is working more, that we aren't able, it doesn't seem right even to staff to consider evening meetings at this point. I'm just curious if there is someone out there who assesses the work environment and suggests ways non-financially that we as a municipality can start to adapt so that we can become more attractive. It does seem like our neighbors try to pick off, and there isn't more money. So my question is what else could we be doing?
Is there someone we could, please, Magna?
Yes, so when we've done organizational review back in 2020, it was recommended that that kind of review is done on regular basis, and that the regular basis that's to be determined by senior staff and council. I think we're at the point, it's been for almost 4 years. We can do another organizational review that would just focus on our organization, our internal organization, recruitment, staff training, environment. We can start initiating that process.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a good idea. We can see what's happening all around us. And if there's a way we can attract them better.
And through the chair, we just suffered an immeasurable loss. And so stress I just think it's a good time to look. And like I said, I've been on the municipal job boards. Every municipality is facing this crisis. And so I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to see how we can put ourselves forward.
Thank you. I think we should look into that seriously.
I will be bringing a report to council with the plan.
This is a notice of motion section. I kind of drafted a motion while you guys were talking. Would you like me to read it? So whereas West Elgin is undertaking a pay equity study in 2023, and whereas West Elgin, like other municipalities, are experiencing a high turnover rate. Now, therefore, West Elgin Council hereby requests staff initiate an organizational review to include reviewing recruitment and retention process and climate. I didn't really finish organizational climate. Is that
Workplace environment.
workplace environment? Okay.
Do you want a mover and seconder for that?
So the mover would be Michelle.
Yes.
I just need a seconder.
Seconder, Tressa, and all in favour? You've got it, carried. Statements and inquiries by councils.
Do you want to bring a notice?
Oh, do you got something else?
Yeah,
I was going to go to,
it-
matters of urgency.
I think that it could go under notice of motion. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So again, just circling back to the craft hockey bill and all of the excitement in our community. I'm sure as everybody here in this room knows, West Lorne is Final Four, only community in Ontario to have the chance to win the $250,000, which is going to be announced next weekend, March 31st, April 1st. Everybody knows I'm preaching to the choir here. But it has been such a wonderful initiative for our community. It has brought people together like nothing else I've ever seen. I would like council to consider offering up a token of our appreciation for all the hard work that West Lorne Minor Hockey has done and assist with the feeling of togetherness and inclusiveness with this community. and propose that should West Lorne win the $250,000, that the municipality of West Elgin would contribute additional funds to help with the enhancement of the arena. I don't know what that number looks like. I'm going to be asking our treasurer here in a moment what we can do in a responsible way. The rec committee, the arena committee yesterday asked Dutton Dunwich to consider doing the same thing, and they were bringing that back to their council to have that discussion as well. So I will put that out there.
Michelle?
Through the chair, so is it what they're requesting to have done, the $250,000 won't be enough, so they are going to need top-up money to complete the projects as presented?
Through the chair, that was what was discussed yesterday by Ms. Small at the committee meeting, that the 250 will take them a ways, but not all the way to what they want to do.
Actually, all I can say, I'm astounded by it. The volunteers have come out of the woodwork. You know, I can't believe the work they've done already, you know, and you know, if you didn't come out of the house, you wouldn't know anything was going on. But, you know, they're really organized and really getting on with the job. So when there is urgency to do something, the public come to the fore, and they've done a great job so far. So are we going to wait? No, go on, no.
Just to add to that, I had a Mrs. Lowe's, I'm not familiar with who she is, contact me this morning asking if we can put a light in front of maybe the rec center or the arena or something, you know, kind of like a yellow light or something to say, hey, to rally people, and then to encourage people to maybe put a little ribbon on a tree or whatever in front of their house if they can't put banners or anything up. Just a little more show of support, and maybe the people that aren't aware of what's going on and aren't on social media or aren't watching the news, because it was on breakfast television everywhere. But there are some people that don't know what's going on. They'll maybe see the lights or the ribbons and say, what's going on? And then we'll know.
We do have those lights that Magda had ordered, so I think to light up this building here as well as the municipal office, and I think that was part of the
Illuminated
plan.
lights,
Yeah.
yeah, and we can change colors.
Yeah, and it's,
Yep.
yeah, you can pick a color. They're pretty cool.
Okay, thank you. Go on, Bill.
So I guess the big question is, before there's a motion of any kind to be considered here, are we able to afford to contribute if West Lorne wins the $250,000? Can the municipality of West Elgin afford to contribute to them an additional $100,000 in a way that will not have a negative impact on the financials or the strength of our community?
Through the chair, I did some research, and there is money available in our reserves. That money has been sitting there since 2017, 2018. Money was moved into reserves back in 2017, 2018. We had plans in West Lorne towards Main Street revitalization. Plan was canceled, but the money was moved into reserves for that particular reason. Luckily, that money was allocated to West Lorne. So I would strongly recommend that, you know, West Lorne, we invest that money into West Lorne, and if council chooses to. There's approximately $150,000 left and available, and it could be potentially be used towards arena upgrades.
I think this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I doubt very much we're ever going to see this come back again. And if we're lucky enough to win it, I think we really should support it in every way we can. Anyone else?
Just through the chair, just to kind of bounce off of that point is now that they have made the Final Four, they're not eligible even to apply for Craft Hockey Bill moving forward for so many years. So
Yes, so that's a good point too. It's not like it's going to be an annual thing.
So I have a draft resolution then. So whereas West Lorne Arena is in the top 4 of Craft Hockeyville for 2023. And whereas West Lorne Minor Hockey has done an amazing job promoting a community spirit within West Elgin. Now therefore, the West Elgin Council hereby approves contributing up to $150,000 from reserves to the improvement of the West Lorne Arena, should West Lorne Arena win the Craft Hockeyville 2023 contest.
Okay. Can I ask for a mover for that?
I'll make that motion and it won't be should they win, it will be when they win.
Thank you. Seconded. Chris, all in favor? Everyone's hands up. Okay, so that's got that. That was statement inquiries by councillors, matters of urgency. Any matters of urgency anywhere? Upcoming events, please.
So just a list of the upcoming meetings. Some of these are rescheduled. So the 4 Counties Transportation Advisory Committee has been rescheduled to March 28th at 8:30 a.m. That is a typo on my part. Our Tri-County Water Board meeting is also meeting March 28th at 7 p.m. That will be everyone since Councillor Navakis is the alternate. We are returning to budget programming on March 30th and April 6th. Both of these meetings are at 9 a.m. The next West Elgin Community Board of Management, Community Center Board of Management, or the Arena Board is on April 12th at 9 a.m. And we'll follow that up with a council meeting April 13th at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
So this bylaw was not on the public agenda, but it is being introduced on the floor. So it's the bylaw to declare the office of the mayor vacant. So if you would like, I can read the resolution.
Yes, please.
The bylaw 2023 being a bylaw to declare the office of the mayor vacant, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover, please. Teresa. Bill, all in favor? Passed.
Okay, so we're going to pass the confirming bylaw before we go into closed, just to keep the.
Yeah, the confirming bylaw.
So that bylaw 2023-22 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on March 23, 2023, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover, please. Joe, Bill, all in favor? Carried.
So now we're at the point of closed, so that West Elgin Council hereby proceeds into closed session at 11:34 a.m. under section 239 2B. Consideration will be given to items pertaining to personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees.
Mover, please. Teresa, Michelle, all in favor? Carried.
That will end the live streaming of this meeting.